Very few schools are closing. Go back and read what I said. I didn't overpromise, and what I have probably outperformed what anybody thought would happen.
Why do you suppose such large segments of the American electorate have come to harbor such profound concerns about your cognitive fitness? Thank you.
I have no idea.
Joe Biden marked his first year in office with a press conference that went viral for how terrible it was. As one old saying goes, you can tell a politician is lying when his mouth is moving. And without a doubt, embellishing one's feats and downplaying one's faults comes part and parcel with holding elected office. Joe Biden's first year as commander-in-chief had its fill of scandals, controversies, and missteps. There's out-of-control immigration from Latin America, the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, and the increasing boldness of China and Russia. And that's just foreign policy. At home, we've had runaway inflation, high gas prices, empty shelves due to the supply chain crisis, a sluggish return to the workforce, and hundreds of thousands of new COVID cases. Biden has come by his abysmal approval ratings honestly, which are now dropping like a rock towards the low 30s.
Because right now, polls show almost 2/3 of Americans think the United States is on the wrong track. That is the second worst percentage since they started tracking it during Jimmy Carter's presidency. And a recent Quinnipiac poll showed only 25% of independents approve of Biden's job as president.
But as his administration concluded its first year, President Joe Biden shuffled out from the Oval Office to participate in a 2-hour-long press conference. He did his best to portray the missteps through rose-colored aviator glasses when they were mentioned, but as reporters got to offer some pushback, the presser devolved from uneasy propaganda to a series of gaffes, awkward silences, and sarcastic, snappy remarks. In a way, it's hard to make sense of it all, but here are some of the most notable and chaotic moments.
I often see empty shelves being shown on television. 89% are full, which is only a few points below what it was before the pandemic.
While Biden was trying to take credit for saving Christmas, he highlighted a scene that many Americans across the country have been experiencing, including in Washington, D.C. empty shelves. He tried to downplay the supply crisis by claiming that store shelves are only a little bit more empty than they were at the start of the pandemic. Oddly, Biden suggests that it's a win for his administration that stores are now struggling to keep items stocked, just like they were back in 2020. And on top of that, he noted another achievement of the Biden administration: the price of food, if you can find it, is through the roof.
Like I said, you have a circumstance where people are paying more for a pound of hamburger meat than they ever paid.
We turn now to food manufacturers across the country announcing a new round of price increases coming to consumers in 2022.
The price of milk, 4.6% higher than a year ago. Bread, up 4%. Poultry, fish, and eggs, 13% higher.
President Biden also stood by his disastrous Afghanistan pullout. Now, to be fair, Afghanistan was a mess long before Biden was in the White House. As the years went on, the mission seemed to move from fighting al-Qaeda toward building a nation-state from scratch. Over the course of 2 decades, the United States spent $2.3 trillion on a conflict that resulted in 241,000 deaths. But thanks to Biden, the last days of the war added insult to injury. The Afghan military immediately surrendered to the Taliban after the US withdrawal. The billions and billions of dollars spent training and arming the Afghans was apparently wasted. As American forces tried desperately to hold on to the Kabul airport for the final withdrawal, a terrorist who was just freed from prison during the retreat carried out a suicide attack that killed 13 US service members. Soon after, the US launched a drone strike that managed to kill 10 civilians, including 7 children. The administration denied for weeks that the strike was a massive mistake, and once they did admit the error, no one was held accountable. What was Biden's response during the press conference? Well, apparently, he makes no apologies for the retreat.
And I make no apologies for what I did. I have a great concern for the women and men who were blown up on the line at the airport by a terrorist attack against them.
Biden also appeared to make no apologies during the dignified transfer of the 13 service members who died, even taking a not-so-subtle glance at his watch during the ceremony.
That didn't happen just once. That happened on every single one that came out of that airplane. It happened on every single one of them.
Every American knows that in his old age, President Biden is not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. When he's speaking in public for more than a few minutes, he ends up displaying some strange behavior or making some awkward comments.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
or stroking a small child, or snapping at a voter.
Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
Really, anything could happen. Through the campaign season and during the past year, however, those in Biden's circle have done their best to downplay the obvious. First Lady Jill Biden called the suggestion that Biden's mental fitness has declined ridiculous. And during the press conference, Biden followed suit, saying that he has no idea why half of Americans don't agree with the notion that he is mentally fit, before quickly moving on to the next question.
Why do you suppose such large segments of the American electorate have come to harbor such profound concerns about your cognitive fitness? Thank you.
I have no idea.
This video is brought to you by Established Titles. Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Lord or Lady in Scotland. All you need is 1 square foot plot of land and a certificate. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. In your title pack, you will receive at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate and an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate will include a unique plot number so that you can see the exact location of your land. Established Titles commits to preserving the woodlands not only in Scotland, but around the planet. They have partnerships with global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to help with our afforestation efforts, and for every order they receive, a tree is planted. Established Titles is having a great extended New Year sale, so go to establishedtitles.com/dailywire to save 10% off today, and remember to use the discount code DAILYWIRE or just click the link below. That's establishedtitles.com/dailywire or just click the link below. For the past year, Democrats have been trying to pass various election reform bills in an effort to federalize elections. The For the People Act, for instance, would eliminate voter ID provisions, perpetuate voting by mail, provide federal control over redistricting, and pave the way for DC statehood. With legislation such as the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, lawmakers recently tried to restart those debates. But when Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, a centrist Democrat, announced that she would not support changes to Senate voting rules, the bills were once again dead in the water. So during the press conference, Biden borrowed from Donald Trump, warning about illegitimate elections if the results didn't go his way.
Speaking of voting rights legislation, if this isn't passed, do you still believe the upcoming election will be fairly conducted and its results will be legitimate?
Well, it all depends on whether or not we're able to make the case to the American people that some of this is being set up to try to alter the outcome of the election.
Now remember, on the eve of Biden's inauguration, President Trump was removed from social media and overall polite society for making the same claim about the 2020 elections. Even CNN realized that Biden's claim was absurd, but that was pretty much the only slap on the wrist he received.
It is striking to hear an American president not named Donald Trump raise questions about the legitimacy and sanctity of our democracy. I get the point he was trying to make.
Strikingly, the president said that the upcoming midterm elections might not be legitimate if the election reform bills before the Senate are not passed.
But in perhaps the best example of disconnection from reality in the entire press conference, Biden said confidently that he didn't overpromise, but probably outperformed expectations for his presidency.
Did you overpromise to the American public what you could achieve in your first year in office? And how do you plan to course correct going forward?
Why are you such an optimist? Look, I didn't overpromise, but I have probably outperformed what anybody thought would happen.
We'll let that one speak for itself, but how did the nation respond to Biden's first-year presser? For one, PBS journalist Yamiche Alcindor lavished praise upon the event, saying Biden pushed back on critics, called out lies, took responsibility for mistakes he believes he made, expressed surprise at GOP, talked foreign policy, and didn't lash out on reporters. Needless to say, that's the opposite of what happened. On the other side of the aisle, Fox News host and former Trump White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany shredded the press conference to pieces, calling it delusional and remarking that she walked away genuinely scared for the future of our country. What about the American public, which is already disillusioned and clearly able to see right through Biden's propaganda? Time will soon tell, but the White House is trying to be persuasive as best they know how, enlisting a celebrity. After the press conference, the Biden administration released a promotional video of actor Tom Hanks rattling off Biden's accomplishments.
America is the home of the brave. It's why we keep getting up, no matter how many times we get knocked down.
Social media users soon remembered a scene from The Simpsons, in which the government also used Tom Hanks to kick up their lagging credibility.
Hello, I'm Tom Hanks. The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine.
And if you're sick of the circus, just remember there's only 3 more years left of the Biden administration. Visit dailywire.com for all of the latest news. I'm Ian Howarth. Thanks for watching.